Yes. So, Congressman, my understanding is that the targeting options that are available rank and determine which ads are going to be interesting to which people. So we may use metadata or other behaviors of what you've shown that you're interested in a newsfeed or other places in order to make our systems more relevant to you. But that's a little bit different from giving that as an option to an advertiser, if that makes sense.
Right. But then I guess the question back to, and I only got 20 seconds, I think one of the rubs that you're hearing is I don't understand how users then own that data. I think that's part of the rub. Second,
large telecommunications company become a near monopoly in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And just as Facebook, these companies were founded by bright entrepreneurs, their companies grew, and eventually they sometimes became detached from everyday Americans. And what happened is policymakers then had to step in and reestablish the balance between those folks and everyday Americans. And I appreciate that you've apologized for it. And one of the things I appreciate about Facebook, it appears you're proactively trying to address the situation. Just as we address, this goes beyond Facebook. This has to do with the edge providers. It has to do with social media organizations and also with ISPs. Back to examples yesterday during the Senate hearing and also today during this hearing so far about ideological bias among the users of Facebook to stop her postings. And anything you can do in that regard to fix that bias will go a long way. I want to move a different direction. That's to talk about the future. Congress needs to consider, and I want to call this policy response Privacy 2.0 and Fairness 2.0. With respect to fairness, I think the technology companies should be ideologically agnostic regarding their users' public-facing activities. The Facebook and other technology platforms should be ideologically neutral.
Congressman, I agree that we should be a platform for all ideas, and that we should focus on that.
Good. I've got limited time. With respect to, we talk about a virtual person that each technology user establishes online, their name, address, their online purchases, geolocation data, websites visited, pictures up online. My second question is this. You said earlier that each user owns their virtual presence. Do you think that this concept should apply to all technology providers, including social MSPs?
Congressman, yes. In general, I mean, I think that people own their information.
Thank you. I'm not trying to cut you off. Well, you can provide more information supplementally after. If Congress enacts privacy standards for technology providers, just as we have for financial institutions, healthcare, employee benefits, et cetera, the policy should state that the data of technology users should be held privately unless they specifically consent to the use of the data by others. This release should be based upon the absolute transparency as to what data will be used, how it will be processed, where it will be, if it will be sold, and to whom it might be sold. The disclosure of this information and the associated opt-in actions should be easy to understand and easier for rolling fine print disclosures with a single. In this regard, based on my use of Facebook, I think you've come a long way toward meeting that objective. I think we must move further. I'll have two other questions to submit later. And thank you. You can just later. Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired. Chair recognizes the gentleman from California for 4 minutes. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. Seems like we've been here forever, don't you? Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, for holding this important hearing. I'm of the opinion that basically we're hearing from one of the leaders, the CEO of one of the biggest corporations in the world, but yet in an environment that is unregulated, or for basic terms, that the lanes in which you're supposed to operate in are very wide and broad, unlike other holders. It shows that in 2009, your net value of the company was less than or revenue was less than $1 billion. And then you look all the way over to 26 billion. And then in 2017, apparently about close to 40 billion. Are those numbers relatively accurate about the growth and the phenomenon of Facebook?
Congressman,
just so you know, it just brought to my attention, my staff texted me a little while ago that the CEO of Cambridge Analytica apparently stepped down sometime today. I don't know if anybody of your team there whispered that to you, but my staff just reported that. The CEO of Cambridge Analytica stepped down. Does that, in and of itself, solve the issue and the controversy around what they did?
Congressman, I don't think so. What happened specifically with Cambridge Analytica? How were they able to buy data from a developer that people chose to share it with? And how do we make sure that that can't happen again?
But some of that information, correct?
People had it on Facebook and then chose to share theirs and some of their friends' information with this developer, yes.
Mm-hmm. Something was brought to my attention most recently, actually buy information to add or augment the information that you have on some of your users to build a company.
It's an industry standard ad practice, and recently, upon examining all of our systems, we decided that's not a thing that we want to be a part of, even if everyone else is doing it.
But Facebook yourselves, you did engage in that?
Yes, until we announced that we're shutting it down, yes.
Okay. It's my understanding that when The Guardian decided to report on the Cambridge Analytica, something like that, Facebook kind of warned them like, hey, maybe you don't want to do that?
I think that there may have been a specific factual inaccuracy that we...
So in other words, you not going to want to go out with that story because it's not 100% factual.
That's a specific point, yes.
Okay. Now, but however, they did go through with their story, regardless of the warnings or the threats of Facebook saying that you're not going to... Isn't that the case?
That we apologized after they posted most of the details of what was right there, and I don't think we objected to that.
Thank you.
Specific things.
Okay, but I only have a few more seconds. My main point is this. I think if you want to truly be a leader in all the sense of the word, and in fact do right by American users of Facebook, and when it comes to information, unfortunately getting in the wrong hands, you can actually being a leader in that sense.
Chairman. The gentleman's time.
Can you give a 2-second answer?
Sure.
Congressman, I am definitely committed to taking a break.
For about, we'll recess for 10 minutes and then resume the hearing.
Let me just tell you what's happening.
You've been watching the second day of testimony of Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook CEO. Plenty of lawmakers still to go, 55 in total. They'll all likely ask some questions. They will be returning after a recess. Just to check in on markets right now, Facebook is up 1.5%, which has brought the NASDAQ back into positive territory, even though other indices are actually on the decline once more. Broader indices like the NASDAQ are 0.25%, and the Dow is down as well. So let's get to our guests. Let's bring in Tom Giles, who is here with us for Global Technology, typically based in San